Hi, I'm Bill Khan. This is Crash Course AP Literature. So the most convoluted dream you could ever have is the American dream. Thousands of Americans from the early 1900s were desperate to attain it, and a very small percentage actually got to experience it. I mean, what the heck is it, and why do I even want it? Let me just ask someone who probably knows. My good friend Jay Gatsby. Oh, what's that? Okay. Turns out, even Gatsby doesn't know. This is gonna be harder than I thought. So in order to discuss what the American dream really is, we're gonna have to jump into the heart of this Slim Goliath. Let's talk about our characters. Nick Carraway is rich, like very rich. How rich is he? Well, let's just say, even though he's a stockbroker, he doesn't have to be. His wealth mainly comes from the work of his grandpa's brother, who made his riches by dodging the Civil War and paying someone off to serve on his behalf. How unapologetically American is that? Anyways, when Nick makes the move to the East Coast, he rents a house in West Egg where he neighbors a mysterious man of immense fortune, as we soon find out is our tragic hero, Jay Gatsby. Gatsby asks Nick to arrange a meeting between himself and Daisy. Of course, he doesn't actually ask for the favor himself, rather opting to do it the way I asked my middle school crush out, through someone else. In this case though, through Jordan Baker. It's here that Nick fits the pieces together, and we see for the first time that Gatsby is a real person with hopes and dreams, as he states, "He came alive to me, delivered suddenly from the womb of his purposeless splendor." It's interesting to see how someone like Gatsby, someone with such immense wealth, struggle with, frankly, anything. And then there's Daisy, whose problems never go beyond the scope of the first world. I mean, her main conflict can be summed up to, should I go with rich guy number 1 or rich guy number 2? We also get to know more about our golden boy, Tom Buchanan, who overall is just a great guy. No, that's a joke. The guy's a dirtbag. Tom had peaked at a young age and was struggling to manifest. Mr. Khan, I hate the Buchanans. They literally have no redeeming qualities. Ugh, me from the past. Of course you don't. You're not supposed to. Tom is basically the human embodiment of a mule, and Daisy, well, you know how Daisy is. I just can't bring myself to like these two either, and that's okay. But regardless of their shortcomings, the Buchanans are in the book for a reason. They serve to create a stark contrast between them and Gatsby. I mean, Fitzgerald put a whole bay between them, for goodness sake. Oh, what's that, Radine? It's time for the open letter. An open letter to the symbolic nature of color. I'd like to give my thanks to color for being such a decisive way for authors to create symbols. And the best part, color isn't limited to only great American literature, it's everywhere, even in our everyday lives. When you're jealous, you're green with envy. When you're angry, you're red and tomatoey, and so on and so forth. Let's go to the thought bubble. Fitzgerald would have probably made a phenomenal painter because his use of color is so well done, it makes me want to become an art critic. The color gold, for example, is littered throughout the entire novel. Gatsby's tie is gold, the buttons on Daisy's dress. Nick even describes some flowers smelling like pale gold. And there's a distinction to be made between gold and yellow. Of course, it's pretty easy to tell gold symbolizes wealth, while yellow, on the other hand, describes something much more sinister and dark. Or the huge spectacles of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg that looms over the wastelands of America, and even Gatsby's car, a yellow mechanical symbol of his failure. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Oh, I almost forgot, the secret compartment. Oh, look at that. It's a gold-rimmed wristwatch. I was hoping for a Rolex, but this'll do. It must symbolize Gatsby's obsessive desire to go back to the past and keep things the way they were. Sound familiar? So the American dream for most people is wealth. But for Gatsby, he already had that, and a lot of it. So what was his American dream? It wasn't only to obtain Daisy like some sort of item, but also to reinstate the past and restore it to what it once was. To this idea, Nick states, "You can't repeat the past," and Gatsby famously responds, "Can't repeat the past? Why, of course you can. I'm gonna fix everything just the way it was before." Fitzgerald almost spells it out for us. The American dream for Gatsby is almost unattainable, because what Gatsby wants is in the past. And arguably, this is his tragic flaw. His unwillingness to sever his ties with what once was. It's kind of really sad if you think about it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. This episode of Crash Course was made possible thanks to the help of these sweet people. This episode was written by yours truly and directed by Radine Khan and filmed in Radine's basement. Thanks to the support of all our producers, Mr. Lewis, Oswaldo Ramirez, and Miss Dicely. Thanks again for watching, and
I'm Gatsby.